Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 40 of the Playoff Push podcast. Another milestone episode hitting the big 40. Thank you for all the support on the first 39. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we get some nice support on this one, which is the episode everyone's been waiting for, the overall draft recap. We will be talking about basically every team not named the New York Giants. If you're concerned about the New York Giants, go to the previous episode, episode number 39, where we go into really good depth of the Giants' first through fifth round picks, a little bit about the seventh, but mostly first through fifth round. But today we're going to be discussing every other team's picks. Um, Overall the first rounders, and then a few of the steals I liked in the later rounds. We'll get to that near the end. But of course, the first pick of the draft was the Tennessee Titans, and they need a franchise quarterback. Will Levis did not pan out the way they expected, and so with the first overall pick, they took Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. Now, do I think Ward is a first overall pick talent? No, I do not. But do I think this is a bad pick by Tennessee? Not in the slightest. I mean, they need a quarterback, and Cam Ward is obviously the best on the board. I don't think any other quarterbacks even compare to him. He's so far above everyone else. Cam Ward is actually a funny story because he began in the FCS with the Incarnate Word Cardinals before transferring to Washington State University in 2022, playing 2 years there, and then banking on himself. Instead of declaring for the 2024 draft, he decided to transfer to Miami for his third separate team and bet on himself, and it worked out perfectly, eclipsing 4,300 yards, 39 touchdowns, 7 picks, and a quarterback rating of 172.2, giving Miami a very competitive team. If only they had a good defense, this team could have really done a lot of damage. But they played very well, and Cam Ward showed why he deserves to be the number one overall pick to the Tennessee Titans, and he did. Again, do I think this will pan out to be, a better first overall pick of the last, decade? I really don't. I think he won't compare to Burrow. He might be better than T. Law. I mean, I guess we'll figure it out. He's playing in the same division, but I think Cam Ward was the right pick for Tennessee there. I don't think either of the guys after him would have been bad picks for Tennessee either, but their fans are just so desperate to win. They need a quarterback. And Cam Ward, not a bad pick at all. Second pick, in a shocker, Cleveland trades down from 2 to 5, giving Jags the chance to go up to 2 and take Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, of course, a once in a lifetime talent, wide receiver and cornerback, very good at both spots. He's elite ball skills on both sides of the ball, and he's a playmaker. He's a guy that you can put in there, and he'll just find the ball. He will find the ball, and he will find a way to lock down the guy or get around the guy. And he's like a super electric. He really is. He's gonna give Jacksonville a lot of versatility with their new head coach Liam Cohen, looking to use him as both a pick on offense and defense because the Jacksonville Jaguars have declared that they will play him both on offense and defense, which is a great thing for them. Um, Travis Hunter, going to be very good in the league. Just get ready for this guy to wreak havoc. Third pick, Abdul Carter. Not going to go into much depth. I did in episode 39. Again, a great pick. I think Carter's potentially be the best player in this draft class. Transferred from middle linebacker to an edge rusher and just dominated in his first season as an edge rusher. I can only hope what he'll do on this D line with Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. I can only wait to see. Patriots taking Will Campbell with the fourth overall pick. I originally wasn't too into Campbell as a prospect, but after he got drafted with those interviews, I think I'm starting to like him a bit more. He said something along the lines of that he'll die for Drake May, and I was like, dude, you just got drafted. Like saying that already is a bold statement because it shows the dedication, even though you just got selected. But I think that's a making of a great tackle. What you need in a tackle is fearlessness to attack the opponent's edge rushers. And if he's willing to die for Drake May, I think he's more than willing to do that. So, Patriots fans, you may have gotten yourself a stud tackle in Will Campbell. He did dominate the SEC when he was with LSU. He's very, very strong, which even those measurables weren't necessarily the best. And that's why a lot of teams were concerned about picking him. New England clearly didn't care too much. He's very strong on his base. He's really good with hands, like just being able to knock the edge rushers off their game. In pass protection, he's just incredible. He's a great pass protecting tackle. Run game, a lot of room for improvement. I think that he has all the tools to develop in the run game. I just think that's more of a New England coaching staff issue. So we will see how that goes. But I like the pick a lot, actually. Then you got Cleveland, of course, trading back with Jacksonville back to 5, getting Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. This guy's a game wrecker. Mason Graham, I've seen plays of him like doing the like just slapping centers, just knocking them down and then attacking the quarterback. This guy, along with Myles Garrett, is going to wreak havoc on offensive lines. Garrett's going to be coming off the edge. Graham's going to be coming in the interior. And just watch out for Cleveland's defense this year, man. He's a dog. Mason Graham, not necessarily the build you think of when you think D tackle, but he's physical. He's a hard hitter and he's a really, really good off the ball. Like as soon as the ball snapped, he's already charging. This guy's really agile, and I really do like the pick for Cleveland. I think getting draft capital and still getting a guy like Mason Graham, I think it's a great first round for you. And then the Raiders, another great pick, even though their offensive line is very rough. Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State, arguably the best running back prospect we've seen in a minute. But we saw that Jeanty at I just said Jeanty State. You might as well rename it to that. At Boise State, he did not have a great offensive line. I don't believe any of his offensive line got drafted from what I know. But he was taken 6th overall. This guy doesn't need an O-line. An O-line needs him. So with the Raiders' struggles at halfback last year, throwing in like 4 or 5 guys, Zamir White, Sincere McCormick, you got like a ton of guys that just came in through that team. But and Ashton Jeanty is looking to be the running back 1 in this system, and I think he can definitely do it as a rookie. Just throw him in there. Nobody else compares to him. He's wide and out the first. He's drawn comparisons all over the place from LT to LaDainian Tomlinson, not Lawrence Taylor, of course. But he's drawn all these incredible comparisons. He's a huge playmaker. Like when you look at this guy's stats from last year, it is genuinely so impressive. He has like an average carry, I'd guess, of around 8 or 9 yards. An absolute destroyer of the ground. He will just run the ball down your throat until you give up. He's just a power back that is just as agile as anyone we've ever seen. So I can't wait to see what the Raiders do with Jeanty. A lot of tackles were taken. Membo to the Jets, Banks to the Saints. You also have, I feel like there's one more. Connerly Jr. to Washington, and then I believe Josh Simmons of Ohio State was taken 32 by KC. Another pick I want to focus on is Tyler Warren to the Colts at 14. Tyler Warren, of course, I don't know if this is the first episode. I don't know if I mentioned it with Jasmine in the last one, but I am going to Penn State to further my career. And Tyler Warren, of course, a tight end out of Penn State. This dude's a Swiss Army knife in every way you put it. Best tight end in this draft class, one of the best tight ends we've seen in a while. 6'5.5", 256 pounds, drafted 14th overall by the Colts. This dude's dominant. He had so many snaps at Wildcat on the offensive line. He did everything you could possibly want him to do. He finished 7th in the Heisman voting, which is the highest a tight end has finished since 1977. A lot of guys comparing him to like other great tight ends that like my Giants had, like Jeremy Shockey. I've seen a lot of Shockey comps, but I would even dare to say better. Tyler Warren has all the skills to be a top 3 tight end in this league. He has all the skills to be, at a Kelsey or Kittle type peak in a few years. I guess we'll see what happens. I think the Bears are going to really regret taking Colston Loveland over him. I think it was a stupid pick. When I first saw it, it made no sense. I was like, why would you do this? The Bears, they need blocking help. Why would you not take the guy who lined up at O-line for Penn State several times throughout the year? It doesn't make sense to me. But, I hope Colston Loveland proves me wrong. I doubt it, but I hope he does for his sake. Panthers, interesting pick at number 8, Taratoa McMillan. Teteroa, I keep mixing it up. So McMillan, he's a wide receiver out of Arizona, a school that you don't usually see these high picks from in football. 6'4" wideout, but he's very fast. He is a fast 6'4" wideout. 220 pounds, 10-inch hands, getting taken to the Carolina Panthers, a team where he'll get against some very good competition immediately in training camp. Panthers with one of the best cornerbacks in the league in J.C. Horn. So he will get to face a guy with the caliber of J.C. Horn like almost immediately. But I do like McMillan as a prospect. I'm a bit concerned about his personality because, clips did come out of him saying, he doesn't watch film and stuff, which I think could come back to bite him. But Carolina creating a really terrifying receiver core down there with McMillan. You got Xavier Legette. You got Jalen Coker, who I think is a very underrated pick heading into this next year. And they have, Thielen for veteran leadership. This Panthers receiver core is actually, I would dare say, top, 8 in the league. I think Coker is going to ball this year. I think he's so good. Can't wait to see what they do with him as a wideout too, with everyone concerned about McMillan. Yeah, again, a very interesting first round. Any other picks I want to talk about specifically? I think it's interesting. Amari and Hampton went 22 to the Chargers. I didn't see two running backs going in this first round. I thought it would just be Genty, and then that would be it for halfbacks. Clearly not, because the Chargers felt confident enough in Hampton out of North Carolina. A very good running back. I didn't expect to be first round. Maxwell Hairston going to Buffalo at 30, cornerback out of Kentucky. I love this kid. Maxwell Hairston, as a player, great player. He's very good, but he's an even better person. And Hairston's going to be one of those guys that helps the locker room. All the time you see, all these locker room cancers tearing their teammates down. This guy's the absolute opposite. He will always make sure everyone around him feels just as good as he does. And that's what I love for this Bills team, because in the last few years, especially with like Diggs and Allen before they traded Diggs to Houston, they were having a lot of feuds. I think if Hairston was there, he could have, at least tried to level it and do a pretty solid job at that. But I'm excited to see what he can do in Buffalo. I think they need a corner, and I think he's a great pickup at 30 without having to, give up any draft capital to move up. James Pierce Jr. to the Falcons at 26 after they traded back. He's very good. Pierce is an edge rusher. Was originally ranked much higher pre-season on draft boards. So I think it's good for Atlanta that he fell. The Rams traded them this pick when the Rams moved up. I think. Did they move up or did they move down? Kind of blanking right now, if I'm being honest with you. I think they moved back. But Pierce is a great pick. He's a freak athlete. Like, he is built and he is fast. He's 6'5", 245, but he runs like he's 6', 210. He is so fast at an edge rusher. He can jump. He's explosive. I can't wait to see what he does on that edge for Atlanta. One more thing I want to cover is Jackson Dart. Giants traded back into the first round to get him. I originally didn't like the pick. If you want to hear more about it, go to episode 39. But I think I'm slowly growing to like this pick more and more the more I think about it. Just based on that episode he had with John Gruden, I thought was very important into seeing his thought process. He clearly respects the game. And, Daboll is a quarterback guru. I will dare say it, in the words of Bucky Brooks. But, he's worked with some great quarterbacks, including developing Josh Allen, who, of course, won NFL MVP this past year. So I think Bucky Brooks is right on the nose for that one. A quarterback guru. The Ole Miss product has the traits to play in an offense that features not only traditional dropbacks, but movement-based concepts with a lot of great players like Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy who's really underrated. He's not going to be, a flashy player, but he'll get you the yards when he needs them. I think Dart can really work with them. But that's a first-round summary. I mean, there were a lot of other guys taken, obviously, but I don't think they're all individually worth talking about. I think we'll see what happens, but those were the guys that really stuck out to me. Surprised Emmett Worry of South Carolina did not go in the first round. He went the third pick of the second round to Seattle. He's a great safety. He's going to be a menace in Seattle in the secondary. A lot of other guys. Ohio State running backs went 36 and 38. Judkins to the Cleveland Browns. Trayvon Henderson to the New England Patriots. Luther Burden went 39 to the Bears. Missouri wide receiver. Very good ball player. We'll see what he does in the locker room, but very, very, very good ball player. The Saints with, I think, the stupidest pick of the draft at 40, taking Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville. I think he stinks. I see no benefit to taking Tyler Shuck in any way, shape, or form. You had so many better quarterbacks on the board, and you just didn't go with them. And I think it's a bad pick. I'm usually not one to say, wow, that was an awful pick. Usually I think before I say things. I don't even need to think here. I know in my core this was an awful pick for New Orleans. And I think it'll come back to bite them. I would rather take Quinn Ewers, who fell all the way to the seventh round. Yeah, the seventh round, pick 231 to the Miami Dolphins. I would rather have him over Shuck, and I wouldn't even think twice. Would not even consider it. I think the Saints, with one of the worst picks of the last few years, I think it's like really, really bad. Back-to-back edges that I really love. You got Azaraku from Boston College and Tui Malau from Ohio State, going 44 and 45 to Dallas and Indy. I love both these guys. I think they're both going to be incredible in the league. Both guys who I had on my first round board, and I had them both going in the first, clearly didn't. But I think they have potential to really benefit these teams, especially with Dallas looking to get someone opposite Micah. I think that Donnie from BC will do a pretty good job there. The Colts just need everything they can get. They were so high a few years ago and just started to fall down when their quarterback situation fell apart. Now it's down to Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Can they do something with it? I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. I don't even know who wins that battle, if I'm being honest with you. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. Low key, I think Daniel Jones might win. I think they're very comparable quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, I think, was one of the biggest project picks of the last decade. Hasn't panned out so far. I still think the potential's there, though. But that might be the Colts' downfall, banking on the fact that the potential might be there, when at this point he's done absolutely nothing to prove that. Another interesting pick is Will Johnson, 47 to the Cardinals. He was projected as a top 5 pick by some people prior to the year, but injuries and just not too great play really made him fall on the board, of course, falling to the middle of the second round. But I think it's an absolute steal for the Cardinals. I still think there's a lot of potential left in Will Johnson, and I think the rest of the NFC West is going to suffer because of it. I think he's going to be shut down, taking Pat Pete's job as he retires a Cardinal, and advancing the next era of the Cardinal secondary, moving on from the Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson era into his own. One more pick in the second. Actually two more picks I want to highlight. Elijah Arroyo, tight end for Miami, going 50th overall to Seattle. Arroyo is very interesting. Injuries have really played a role. He's been injured basically every year he's been in the NCAA. But he's one of those rare big play tight ends. Usually you use tight ends as a safety net, like a quick 8-9 yards over the middle to, guarantee the first down. This is a kind of guy where he'll run a slant or he'll run a streak and just get open and yak like crazy. Yards after catch going 15, 20 yards, which is not too often. You see that. That's only like the good tight ends, like, the Kittles of the world. But I think, was it worth 50th overall? I don't know. Do I think the potential is there for Seattle? Absolutely. I think they needed a tight end, and getting a 6'5", 250-pound tight end from, getting passes from Cam Ward, I think that's a pretty good idea in my book. One more pick I want to highlight is Tate Ratledge, the Georgia guard, taken 57th overall by Detroit. This guy, like, if you look at his face, you have never seen a more interesting guy in your life. I don't even know what to say. 6'6.5", 308. Huge ball player. Like, he is massive. 40, just under 5. Of course, guards not meant to be fast. He was a 5-star out of high school, though. Played at Georgia, so clearly played at one of the most esteemed football institutions in the entire country. Second team All-American, third team All-American, first team All-SEC, both of those years playing mainly right guard. I assume that's where Detroit will keep him, but keep your eyes out for something. I like Ratledge. I think he'll be a top-tier guard. I really do. I think he was also my first-round board. I put him around 24, 25. So clearly the 25th pick of the second round but he did a very good job at Georgia. I can't wait to see what he does in the league. And another crazy pick is Mike Green falling to 59 for the Baltimore Ravens. It was nothing due to what he did on the football field. There were a lot of character concerns when it comes to teams. And of course, that's never going to benefit you in the draft. But having him fall all the way from a mid first rounder to a back end of the second rounder and giving him to Baltimore, a team that's really trying to make those final divots to give Lamar his championship finally. He had all the talent in the world to be a top 15 pick, but character can really do that to you. But, we've seen the Ravens. They don't really have problems with that as much as other teams. So they're willing to take the bet that he's the freak athlete that he is and that they can keep him out of trouble. And, I don't even know what happened with him, for being quite frank with you. But that's what I've heard, a lot of character issues. But he's 6'3", 250, a wrecking crew off the edge. Played for Marshall, so, a smaller school, but still was able to show off what he can do there. Very good pick for Baltimore, I think, as long as he, stays and does what he does. Browns in the third round, pick number 67, getting Harold Fannin Jr., a tight end, to back up David Njoku. This guy, tight end for Bowling Green, put up incredible numbers. I love Tyler Warren. Like, of course, I'm going to Penn State. I love Tyler Warren, but I think it's totally valid to say that Harold Fannin should have won the tight end award. I think it's totally reasonable. Last year, 117 catches, 1,555 yards, 10 touchdowns. Yeah, 117 catches for a tight end. And a lot of people can say, "Oh, it was a fluke. It was a fluke." He crushed Penn State. He played so well against Penn State. He had 137 yards. And also, for the record, if you look at Bowling Green's leading receiver, there is only 2 games the entire season where it's not him. And that is November 29th against Miami, Ohio, and October 12th against Northern Illinois. Every other game, including Penn State, including A&M, is where Fannin is the leading receiver. Including, he had 213 yards in the Ventures Bowl against Arkansas State. I mean, I know Arkansas State's not the best team in the world, even though Bowling Green did lose. But 213 yards in a bowl game is not bad in the slightest. I really think that he's going to be a good tight end. I don't know what their future is with David Njoku. But, if for some case Njoku goes, I do not think it's going to be a problem leaving with Fannin at all. I think Fannin's a great tight end. So now we're going to get into my top 5 steals of the draft. In order for me to consider them a steal, they cannot be a top 2 round pick. And, I just feel like they have to have a lot more talent than what the teams are crediting them for based on their draft spot. Now, I'm not basically guaranteeing these guys will be good. I have no guarantee of that, but I think they have the tools to do it. And we'll lead off with our number 5 steal of the draft with Oronde Gadsden II, tight end out of Syracuse, heading to the Chargers at pick number 165. So Gadsden is a very interesting pick because, Syracuse is not really known that much as a football school. But Oronde Gadsden was a guy who had his name called all year. Not a great prospect grade by the NFL, but he's a pretty solid vert. And he's just a fun tight end to watch. He can make stuff happen, which is pretty good. I mean, he's a 3-star coming out of high school and put up some good numbers this year. He's very dynamic. Holds the Syracuse record for yards and receptions by a tight end. 141 catches, 1,970 yards in 28 games. Also has the program's top 2 individual seasons for receptions in 2022 and 2024. And he finished 6th all-time in Syracuse receiving yards per game, averaging 55.3. First team All-ACC, third team All-American in the 5th round is pretty good to me. Last year, 73 catches, 934 yards, 7 touchdowns, a long catch of 39 yards. So do I think he'll be an absolute game breaker? Not really. But do I think he has potential to be a pretty good starting tight end in this league? Yes, I do. 6'5", 236. So he has a pretty nice tight end build. When you look at his game log from last year, it's really interesting. because he came into UNLV when they were ranked, put up 10 catches, 142 yards to win 44-41 in overtime for Syracuse. Also, 6 catches for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns against number 23 ranked Georgia Tech. Um, I think it's a very good pick for the Chargers, getting a guy in the back end of the draft that can really do some damage from the tight end slot. Moving on to my fourth best steal of the draft, Pittsburgh. You're getting yourself a good one. Jack Sawyer, defensive end out of Ohio State. This man is crazy. How did he go so late is my question. And the answer is I have no idea. A fourth rounder, pick number 123. But of course, last year, Ohio State winning the college football championship. He had 9 sacks in the year, along with a pick, had 3 forced fumbles to lead the Big Ten. Just a game breaker at defensive end. And Steelers, a team that definitely need that support on the defense. The Steelers have historically been known as a dominant defensive team. But now they're pairing him along with guys like TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and a great secondary with Minkah and Joey Porter, and now Darius Slay, a guy who I think still has something left in him. But watch out for Jack Sawyer. I think this guy can jump up the depth chart pretty quickly, especially during training camp. I think he'll show off what he can do pretty quickly. Now we're heading on to my third best steal of the draft. And my question is, who thought letting Kansas City get another 4-4 wideout was a good idea? Jalen Royals from Utah State. As I just said, 4.42, 40-yard dash, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Again, Utah State, not the greatest school you've ever seen for football. But getting a guy like this in the fourth round, where everyone is having him as, a back end of the second, early third, getting him with the second to last pick of the fourth round is not bad at all. I think he will be a starter for Kansas City, considering that their wide receiver core, despite making it all the way to the Super Bowl, despite making it all the way to the Super Bowl last year, is still not as strong as it could be. Worthy's a good guy. Rashee Rice should be back, I think. He's definitely, I'd put Rice over Worthy for now. Both those guys very good, but Hollywood Brown has really taken a step down. And do I think Jalen Royals can hop into that wide receiver 3 slot before the end of the year? I absolutely do. I love this kid. I think he will be ridiculous for KC with Patrick Mahomes tossing him the ball. Averaged exactly 15.2 yards per catch in both 2023 and 2024. 21 total touchdowns, both seasons with a long over 70. But what I think is he was not used in the running game. Only one rush in 2 years with Utah State, and it was for 3 yards. But I think with speed like that and, a 6-foot frame, not necessarily the biggest guy in the world, you can run some cool jet sweeps with them. So I think there's a lot of potential to use Jalen Royals here. We're getting to another guy who I think you can use even better in a second. But, a guy to watch out for with Patrick Mahomes. Never give Mahomes a fast receiver because he can cook with them. And we'll see what he does with Jalen Royals. My second best steal in the class, Miami. Round 6, pick number 179. Getting a running back out of Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon II. You guys forgot how good this kid is. He was potentially a first rounder last year, but decided to play one more year at Oklahoma State, and it tanked his draft stock. But I think you guys are forgetting what this guy did. 2023, 285 carries, 1,700 yards, and 21 touchdowns on the ground to add to 39 catches and 330 yards for the air. This dude had over 2,000 scrimmage yards with 22 touchdowns, and he falls to the 6th round? Like, are we serious? 6.1 yards per carry in 2023, 4.6 last year. Probably why? Because Oklahoma State as a team took a huge dip. It wasn't just him. Like, he was a result of his team going down. But, in 2024, they started out 3-0 and then lost out the entire rest of the year. Whereas they played in the Texas Bowl just 1 year before Gordon, of course, dominating the run game the entire year. But when a team like Oklahoma State goes from so good to so bad, of course, everyone's going to take a hit, including Ollie Gordon. I think you throw this guy in the NFL, he's going to be a top 10 running back almost immediately. Of course, it's an issue because Miami has Achane. So I think if you give Ollie a starting spot, he'll be a top 10 back pretty quickly. But of course, sitting behind Achane, I think it'll be a struggle for him to get to where he wants to be in terms of, a few years. But you guys forgot who he is, man. Letting him fall to the sixth round, a guy with 2,000 scrimmage yards in a year from a pretty solid conference. Watch out. I still think he'll be the third best running back from this draft behind Genty and Cam Scatterbo. Again, Cam Scatterbo, I would have him on this list, but I talked about him last episode. So again, Giant stuff. Go to episode 39, check that out. But Ollie Gordon, excluding the Giants, is my second best steal in this draft class. But now it is time for my steal of the draft. And I'm telling you guys, in the NFC North, Bears, Vikings, and Lions fans, you're going to need to watch out. Because in my opinion, the Packers made the steal of the draft, getting a wide receiver. I know I'm not talking Matthew Golden. I'm talking their third round pick number 87, and my 2025 official playoff push podcast steal of the draft out of TCU, 6'5", 225 pounds, Savion Williams. Remember the name. This guy is lethal. Last year, 60 catches, 611 yards, and 6 touchdowns. By itself, doesn't sound too great, but that's because he was playing on a TCU team with 4 guys at wide receiver 1. They were splitting them all relatively equally through the air, but giving Savion to a guy like Jordan Love is a terrifying thought for every single person in the NFC North. Of course, Jack Beck did play very well for TCU, landing him a spot in the second round with the Raiders, him having 1,000 yards as wide receiver 1. However, again, I think Savion is definitely underrated as a ball player. Not only as a receiver, though, I said 60 catches, 600 yards. On the ground, 51 carries, 322 yards. This guy is about as good of a Swiss Army knife as you will see from a wideout. And giving him to Jordan Love, a guy who, let's say, uses Reed as that Swiss Army knife, as a wideout, as a halfback. I think Savion does the same thing, but in a 6'5" frame with really, really good speed. This guy's concerning. He ran a sub 4.5. I think this guy was made in a lab to play football. 6'5", sub 4.5 at wideout. Are you messing with me? I legitimately think this guy can turn into an absolute game wrecker, considering LaFleur and Jordan Love's tendencies to love guys like this with Reed, but finished his college career with 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and the Packers can really get him the ball however they want. They can run a pass, they can run a run, they can run a jet sweep, a wheel, anything they want. If they can get him open, he has the speed to get away. But I think he's definitely like a Deebo Samuel type comparison, a wide receiver who you can use in the run game, but also very efficient in the pass game. Of course, he's 6'5". He'll get those jump balls. And I think if he was a wide receiver on TCU, wide receiver 1 over Jack Beck, he would have been a first rounder. I think this guy is a first round talent. If you watch this guy's tape, he's unreal. He can moss guys. He can outrun guys. He can run wildcat and just go crazy. I swear. Jayden Reed, you take Jayden Reed, you multiply him by 2. And you get Savion Williams. And I think mixing up Reed and Williams can also keep Reed and Williams healthier by giving them less reps, but still doing the same damage. They're both incredible players who play very similar, so you don't need both of them on the field at once, but you can switch them off and do ridiculous things through your opponent's defensive coordinator's mind. He'll just be like, how do I even stop this? But now, with getting Williams, LaFleur really has a guy that he can use in any way he wants to help Jordan Love really break all the way out. But the crazy thing is wide receivers, they're usually, once they get hit, they're usually done. However, this guy can break tackles It's ridiculous. 18 broken tackles after the catch in 2024, 38 total throughout his college career. But he added 28 more broken tackles as a runner on Wildcat and handoffs. 22 broken tackles on 51 carries. I'm sorry, what? This dude's 6'5" and can't get tackled at running back. Like, I don't know if any of you realize how the damage this guy can do. But I'm just telling you, I've been yapping for a while. Go watch the tape. Savion Williams, TCU, wide receiver, 6'4", 6'5", different sources, mix them up, 220-ish pounds with a sub 4.5 40. This guy is going to put the NFC North on upset watch. Green Bay going for that title, going to take on the Lions, going to take on the Bears. I think the Vikings take a step back, but those two teams are both very competitive, and I think Savion Williams is the first step for the Packers to overtake them. And that's my look into the 2025 NFL draft. A very good draft. I think probably the best depth draft we've had in at least a few years. I really like the way this went, especially for my Giants. But overall, I think this draft's really going to shape the league for the next 10 years. A lot of times you see guys, who you think will be there for a couple and then fall off. I think this draft could do great stuff for the league in the future, from first to second round, all the way to the sixth with Ollie Gordon. But we will see how it goes. That's going to be it here for episode 40 of the Playoff Push podcast. Thank you for listening to my 2025 NFL draft recap. Thank you for all the support so far. If you love these shows, please leave a review. Let me know how much you love them. Check out Playoff Push Podcast 99 on Instagram, Playoff Push Pod on Twitter. Let's get those socials going. And that's going to be it from me. I'm your host, Jack Dobbins, and have a great rest of your day.